All right, guess what? Did you hear about the economies collapsing? Did you hear that? The banks are doing it again, Kurt. Did you know that?
Oh, I give you things.
Oh, did you? Oh, let me get to the thing. Okay. So Biden promises whatever's needed for the U.S. bank system as SVB shock hammers stocks. Well, how about that? I guess our government does use our money to help Americans. Huh? As long as you're a banker. If you're a banker, you're going to get help. He's going to, whatever's needed. He didn't say that about East Palestine.
I know.
He didn't say that about the people who got vaccine injured. He didn't say that about the people living under every bridge. He didn't say that about anybody who went bankrupt because they got sick and their health insurance screwed. He didn't say that about anybody else. But the banks, whatever you need.
It's nice to turn that fire hose of money sprayed on Ukraine a little to the side. Give you a little spritz into the bank. Here's
a little. Reuters put this together. He gave a speech today, and then watch how at the end it's hilarious. Okay, here we go.
Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe.
But first of all, if you think you walking out like Weekend at Bernie's, telling us that the banking system is safe, come on. After you were in power the last time and you didn't fix the banking system, you kicked 5.1 million families out of their homes while you made sure the bankers got their bonuses. So nobody's going to believe you're saying that. Okay, here we go. Here's Reuters.
Your deposits will be there when you need them.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Monday sought to reassure Americans that the sudden collapse of two banks, including the largest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis, did not threaten their savings.
We will not stop at this. We'll do whatever is needed.
And that he stood ready to...
Wouldn't that be amazing to hear him say that about people living under bridges? We are not stopping. We are going to fix this homeless problem. We're the richest country in the world. We're going to fix this, and we're not going to stop until every last American has a home or a drug treatment or something.
We don't want to hurt the homeless nonprofit industry by ruining their their business.
Do whatever is needed. The morning address came after a weekend of emergency moves by U.S. regulators to guarantee all deposits at Silicon Valley Bank, which failed on Friday, and at Signature Bank, which was taken over by regulators on Sunday.
All customers who had deposits in these banks can rest assured they'll be protected and they'll have access to their money as of today.
But the dramatic moves failed to quash investor fears. Regional bank shares plunged on Monday morning. First Republic Bank dropped more than 65% as news of fresh financing failed to reassure investors. Western Alliance Bancorp fell nearly 76%. Trading in the stocks was halted several times due to volatility. The sell-off comes after Biden drew a clear line between depositors, who would be protected, and bank investors, who would not.
Investors in the banks will not be protected. They knowingly took a risk, and when the risk didn't pay off, investors lose their money.
Okay.
That's how capitalism works.
The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC.
Starting now.
From now on.
Going forward, there's no way. So they're gonna cover all the depositors, right? So normally the FDIC covers up to $250,000, $250,000, eh? Mm-hmm. And the reason why they do that is so you don't have a run on a bank, and so people don't get afraid, and they go because they know they're going to leave their money in because they know it's covered by the government or the FDIC. Mm. He's going to guarantee people over $250,000. That's what he's doing.
Oh, well, thank God, because they already got their money out of those investments and put it in the bank. They already are covered.
So he's making sure the rich people get their money. The real donor class. That's what he's making sure gets their money. Okay. Oh, just so you know.
Protects all bank accounts up to $250,000, but the Biden administration announced it would protect all deposits for SVB and Signature depositors.
No losses will be borne by the taxpayers.
So all depositors, no matter how rich you are, but now Biden says that it's not coming out of the taxpayer's pocket.
The money will come from the fees that banks pay into the Deposit Insurance Fund.
I just don't. I can't believe that the taxpayers aren't going to pay for this. So this one way or the other.
He said that. That's one of the most coherent Bidens I've seen in a while.
That is in a while. Yeah, they must have did it at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So but he does want to blame Trump for this. Now Biden's been in power for 2 years, and he had a complete control of Congress and the same party. Democrats had control of the White House and Congress for the last 2 years. They could have repealed it, but they're still blaming Trump. Here we go.
The Democratic president blamed the partial repeal of regulations under the prior Republican administration.
The legislation I'm signing today rolls back the crippling Dodd-Frank regulations that are crushing community banks.
He's out there helping small community banks. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, the regulations that's the thing that was killing small community banks.
Yeah.
I would have guessed it was bigger banks. What a surprise twist, like in an M. Night Shyamalan film or something. That is really, it was the regulations that was crushing community banks.
Yeah. They squeezed too hard.
I didn't know. Okay. So just so you know, when you vote for Trump, you're also voting for the banks.
The guy who ran the one signature or whatever. So that guy, this dude Coffeezilla is great. He describes all these financial crimes. Like he was on Rogan recently. But so that guy was the guy lobbying for them to take those regulations away. And they said, we're just a small community bank, so we're not too big to fail. That's why we shouldn't be under those too big to fail rules. Okay?
Yeah.
So he lobbied for this. And then he got his money out, thank God.
Yeah.
And that's how that got that way. They, like... Well, there's other stuff in it, but I don't want to step on it.
Hey, Trump, you know what else crushes community banks? Letting them do whatever the F they want. Did you ever think of over-leveraging? Is that why Bears and Stearns went under? The crushing regulations? I thought it was Lehman Brothers that went under. Did the Bears and Stearns go under too?
That had some Epstein
It was
connection.
Lehman Brothers for sure went under. Oh, I bet it was the regulations. Hey, for the record, regulations don't really mean shit if you don't bother enforcing them or checking anything, and if the regulators are completely captured. SBF just taught us that with FTX at a hearing with AOC, and I think this applies to SBV too.
2018, changes to the Dodd-Frank Act pushed by Republicans raised the threshold at which banks are considered systemically risky and subject to strict oversight to $250 billion from $50 billion. Silicon Valley Bank had $209 billion in assets at the end of last year.
And they failed. They had $209 billion, and somehow they failed capitalism.
It's not they're not insolvent like FTX. They're illiquid, which means they actually have the money. It's not in made up Chuck E. Cheese tokens.
So they have the money in. Here's what the problem. They put the money. This is my limited understanding. They put their money in long-term bonds,
right?
And so that's their pot of gold. That's their assets. But if they go in, so then a lot of the money that they gave out to companies, those companies all went belly up and stuff, and so they don't have that money. But to go in and get that money from the bonds, they would now lose money because those bonds are not mature yet. And they, by the way, they were way low interest. And something to do with how the interest rates has gone up is what's causing a lot of this. Because it's making those bonds worth less.
Now we have to sell underage bonds.
So that's what's happening. Yeah. So again, they're all the Ponzi scheme things they're doing, like quantitative easing for the last 10 years, keeping interest rates unbelievably low and all. So now they can't do any of that stuff anymore to fix stuff. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. I feel like there's a crash coming. I just feel it. It seems exactly the same. Don't worry, everything's fine. Just a couple of banks. It's not. Wait till. I saw a video where people at Bank of America couldn't get their funds out. Did you see that stuff?
Mm-hmm. One good thing is because they are smaller. The reason they got deregulated like that is because they're not too big to fail.
Yeah, that was and then they failed.
Yeah, so that too big to fail means if you fail, it breaks everyone down.
They have to bail you out. That's what that means.
That's why what is it with investors though? It is fucking with that, because they're like, you're not getting your money. I'm sure not everybody got their money out.
I'm sure something else is gonna happen.
I just got.
He's got to talk tough like that about the investors and the whatever. But it's still a big deal that they're going to cover people who are over $250,000. That means super rich people in rich companies.
Well, if Yeah, I guess so. Like,
So why do you have a $250,000 cap then? Oh, that's only with regular people. But we can unlimited if you're rich and you lose your money.
well, this Silicon Valley, like, you know, is that an important sector of our country that
Is it?
that we serve? And yeah, they
So-
do all our censoring. You got to bail
They
them
do
out.
all our censoring. So here's Joe Biden at the end. He comes out, he gives this speech, like a 4 or 5 minute speech, and then he doesn't let anybody. Watch this. Does this give you confidence?
President, what do you know right now about why this happened? And can you assure Americans that there won't be a ripple effect?
Do you expect other banks to fail, Mr. President?
Should all depositors be protected at all banks?
No.
He finishes his speech and immediately hightails it for the door. Doesn't take one question. Watch
I'm
this.
done.
It doesn't take one question.
President, what do you know right now about why this happened? And can you assure Americans that there won't be a ripple effect?
Do you expect other banks to fail, Mr. President?
Should all depositors be protected at all banks?
It's like
President,
Should
look
we
like-
be worried?
President, what
it's
do you
like a
know
robot
right
at the Hall of Presidents. There's a conveyor belt that takes him out after he does his speech.
Should all depositors be covered at every bank everywhere? It's unlimited? That's a great question.
He
What
didn't
about
even mutter
other-
a response.
What about when other banks start crashing now?
now about why this happened? And can you assure Americans that there won't be a ripple effect?
Do you expect other banks to fail,
On
Mr.
that
President?
line?
Should all depositors be protected at all banks? All right, thank you, President.
It was like
Like they don't have someone else holding the door and closing it. He's doing it himself. It makes it look so funny.
yeah, it was like an Austin Powers bit.
Yes. Yes, it's like he's closing the door. You can't see
Can
me.
everyone be confident? He just,
Can everyone be confident?
President, what do you know right now about why this happened?
What do
And can
you
assure
What do you know about why this happened? Get me the fuck out of here.
this
Get me out
was
of-
is killing me right with his next question.
Americans that there won't be a ripple effect?
Do you expect other banks to fail, Mr. President?
Should all depositors be protected at all banks?
At all the bank.
He tried to get it in the doors and closed.
This is one of the funniest things. It is, right? Because he's doing the door himself. It is like he's Austin
He sped
Powers.
up as it closed.
Yes.
President, what do you know right now about why this happened? And can you assure Americans that there won't be a ripple effect?
Do you expect other banks to fail, Mr. President?
Should all depositors be protected at all banks? All right, thank you, President. What
I like how the guy tries to get him.
Yes.
Like he's going to open the door and go, oh, yeah, I think like he's going to answer that one. I got to get it in before he closes the door.
You know, it'd been great if he came out of another door like that behind the scenes with Lily Tomlin and what's his name.
By the way, if you think this, they're going to blame Trump, and the media will, and Trump did do it, and he is at fault for this. But what they won't tell you is that Joe Biden's been in power for 2 years with a Democratic Congress, and he didn't fix it. He didn't reverse those. They didn't try to put those regulations back in. No, he didn't, because they both serve
What's
the same
done
people.
is done.
And believe me, if Trump was president, if it was Biden president a couple years ago, he would have did it.
Yeah.
If so Trump did it, they all work for the banks. That's why they all do it. Okay. But also, Trump couldn't have done it without Democratic help. Remember, Trump had a Democratic Senate. So he needed to get Senator Mark Warner, a Democrat. He needed to get Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat. And he got Senator John Tester, a Democrat. They were integral in the legislation's passage. So this is, again, bipartisan. They get just enough Democrats to do it. It didn't matter if Trump was president or Joe Biden or Barack Obama. They would have did it. These venture capitalists are all pleading for their bags to be made whole immediately, and they will induce any measure of panic or bludgeon you with "think of the workers" when they only care about themselves, and when their politics to date are purely about self-enrichment. Here's a good example of that. So this guy says, "We've reached a point of political division where it's fine to root for members of another tribe losing their bank deposits. Even though you would protect members of your own tribe in the same situation, be careful what you wish for, because the shoe may soon be on the other foot." So it seems like this guy is saying the government should bail out everybody, and you got to be careful not to root against people who are losing their money right
I thought
now.
he was a Native American.
No, because he's saying tribe.
I thought this is an old Ojibwa saying.
Hey, listen. Hey, how many people in your tribe have bank accounts with millions of dollars sitting in them? Because that's what this is about. He's worried about people over $250,000. How many people in your tribe have bank accounts with more than $250,000 fucking dollars in it? That's the question. And why do I make a point of this guy? I'm not saying this guy's evil or a bad guy. I'm just saying, look at how funny it is, because before he said something like this: where is Powell? Where is Yellen? Stop the crisis now. Announce that all depositors will be safe. Place SVB with a top 4 bank. Do this before Monday. Open or there will be a But before he said, if you can see down here, the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money. So that was his guiding principle before.
Help, we've run out of other people's money.
But now that you've run out of now you want other people's money to bail out. That's kind of ironic. And that was friend of the show, David Sirota, found that.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? I think that's funny, and that's why I'm showing this. That's very funny. You better do it. You got to go got to get other people's money to save other people's money.
Wait, what was the first one you said? It reminded me of we've reached a point of, it sounds like when Scott Adams saw that Rasmussen poll and broke his heart. What?
We've reached a point of political division. So before,
it's not political, it's money, you idiot.
Before it was socialism doesn't work because it's other people's money. Now it's political division.
It's literally the wealth division and not political division.
That's right. It's a wealth division. It's not. This isn't left right. This isn't left right. This is us against them. This guy tweets out, breaking: before the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank, executives sold a lot of their shares. No kidding. The CEO of that bank sold 11% of his shares on February 27th, and I think he made $3.5 million off that stock sale.
Well, can you imagine, would he be qualified to be a CEO if he didn't do that?
Right. Imagine the moron who bought it from him.
Oh.
Right? Imagine somebody had to buy that stock. That he just and now that person who bought it must feel like a sucker because the CEO of the company was selling it.
Do you think each of these guys sold to the other one and they kept selling down the line?
So that's Gregory Becker. Michael Zucker, general counsel, 19%. He sold 19%. The CFO of the bank sold 32%. And then the CMO, what does M stand for?
Wow. I like the one guy, Daniel.
Chief motherfucker officer? What is that?
He had to actually sell the ER off of his name. The others.
Michelle Draper?
It's all Becker, Zucker, Draper, Beck. And then Beck's
Becker, Zucker, Beck, Draper. Wait, what? Come on, Daniel. Get an ER at the end of your name. Yeah. You got the money. We all know you got the money. So there you go. So that's what's going on with that bank. I'm predicting a huge banking collapse.
Well,
that's my prediction because
it seems like a stock collapse.
It seems like
the same thing. Because it's always like, I love how they always talk about everything's about their confidence. Like they have the most fragile confidence. Investors, they're like, you tell them their hair is nice. I don't feel confident.
I feel confident. I say that the interest rates. Them being high, raising the interest rates. They do that, by the way, to create unemployment so they can get inflation down. So the way they're going to help the economy is by putting pain on some workers. Isn't that crazy? It's a crazy system we have. This capitalism system. We got to have way more of a controlled capitalism.
Yeah.
The way it is now is messed up. And I'm again, I live in California and I run a small business and the fucking regulations are so crazy. So I get why people hate, they don't, more regulation. No, I think we need to do capitalism differently.
Or even just do all the things you've been supposed to do that they don't ever do.
Yeah, that's right. They don't ever do any of this stuff.
One guy was like noticed Madoff. One guy.
That's right.
And everybody told him to shut up.
Well, we live in an oligarchy, and that's why things will never change until people get in the street.
Maybe don't be friends with them if you regulate them. Let's start with that.
If you want to see my stand-up special, become a member at jimmydore.com. It's only $10, and come see our live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, St. Paul, Honolulu, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, and more.